Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Deputy Prime Minister talks Oban more than a year after that controversial signing.
4 people shot, leaving 1 man dead in Yellow Elder. That story is coming up.
Dozens of frustrated BTC employees vent their frustrations.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Minister of Tourism Dionisio Diagler has joined Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis in defending their cabinet colleagues' involvement in the Frank Smith trial, asserting government supports the decision to appeal the recent ruling and the Free National Movement does not think Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands nor National Security Minister Marvin Dames did anything untoward. During the course of the case, it was revealed that Sands awarded a second contract of $1.8 million to the prosecution's star witness, Barbara Hanna, 3 months after Smith was charged. Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson-Pratt said the circumstances of the contract raised a specter of impropriety. However, Diagler says Sands did what he was supposed to.
Every possible due diligence was done on that contract. There is no way, in his mind and in the mind of the cabinet, that that contract was awarded to, in essence, get her to say the right things. That contract was awarded. It went through the vetting process, the bidding process. It was extremely transparent. In our opinion, in the opinion of the FNM, is there was nothing untoward or underhanded going on where the minister was, here's the contract, say this about that person. That's absolutely untrue, unfounded, and ungrounded.
It was also revealed that Dames met with Hanna before she made an official complaint to police. The magistrate said that this meeting with the complainant was unorthodox, to say the least. However, Diagler, who was a guest on talk show On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer, insisted there was no intent to abuse power.
The minister at the time was trying to ascertain whether this should be moved forward as a police matter. I mean, I don't think when he met with her, this was during the campaign, and then after he became a minister, she came to him with information, and he moved it forward to Marvin Dames in his capacity as Minister of National Security, and then it would turned over to the police. So, I mean, I don't think there's. And I don't think there's any intent to abuse power. I just think that, she came forward. They were like, okay, how do we navigate this? How do we get this before the right individuals?
In her ruling on the matter, the chief magistrate decried the egregious conduct of both ministers. Ferguson-Pratt found there is not a scintilla of evidence to support the fact that there was a meeting between Barbara Hanna and the accused prior to the award of the contract. Diagler also commented on that.
As it relates to the legal conundrum that we're at, that the magistrate has obviously opined on the issue. We completely disagree. The Director of Public Prosecution, not the Attorney General, has agreed or has decided to appeal the case. It's a matter before the courts. Let it work its way through the courts and then see where the chips fall. But right now...
But the question is not whether they're doing a good job. It's what role did they play in this, and the appearance, and I always say it's the optics of it that I think that has a lot of people uncomfortable.
I think that both of the ministers have spoken to this matter. They completely disagree.
Now asked whether he thinks Dames and Sands should resign for their involvement in the case, Diagler insisted neither of them deserve to be fired because both men are doing an excellent job.
The position of the government and the position of those ministers is they should not be fired. First and foremost, I think that they're doing an excellent job. The Minister of National Security, Marvin Dames, has done a commendable job in reducing crime in the Bahamas. You look at his stats, and it's there. Numbers speak for themselves. The Minister of Health, Dwayne Sands, eminently qualified to hold his position, doing an excellent job, right-sizing the healthcare industry, bringing out new beds, mobilizing additional departments at the Princess Margaret Hospital. There's no doubt that both of those ministers are doing a great job.
On the Record airs immediately after Our News. Well, 1 year after government ceremonial signing with Oban Energies for a controversial oil refinery project on Grand Bahama, Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquist says the Minnis administration still has to decide if it will proceed with the embattled project. Jasmine Brown has more.
The fact of the matter is that the government is taking has taken a step back to look at this thing very holistically from the point of view of the economic development and opportunity and what it will contribute to the island, whether it is something that we want to proceed with in terms of the kind of installation.
The DPM has said little about the project that is located in his constituency since the controversial ceremonial signing of a heads of agreement just over a year ago. However, he opened up about the future of the contentious $5.5 billion Oban Energies deal, which has not seen significant movement over the last 12 months. Turnquest says the Minister administration is still assessing the pros and cons of the project, especially considering the government just approved the development of a Carnival Cruise Line's port in East Grand Bahama.
Considering the touristic elements that are now developing on the island, whether we want to focus more on that.
The current heads of agreement with Oban states that the government does not have an option to kill the deal based on anything the EIA concludes, but must work with Oban to address any concerns raised by the study. The project proposes an oil refinery and storage facility to be built in East Grand Bahama. But since the signing, the entire project has been shrouded in controversy and unanswered questions. Concerns were raised regarding the background of former Oban non-executive chairman Peter Krieger, who pleaded guilty to first-degree felony of organized fraud in 2006. The absence of a completed EIA also had environmentalists riled up. The firestorm prompted Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis to admit that the government made a series of missteps regarding the deal in its haste to boost the economy of Grand Bahama. Turnquest says the government is now taking its time with reassessing the project.
Again, this is going through a look from both sides to determine what is best for the island, what is best for Oban and for us. And so, we don't want to rush that process because, again, we want to make sure that we get it right. And I think the Prime Minister and the Minister who's leading that negotiation has said over and over that we will not rush the process, that we will make sure that we cross the T's and dot the I's to ensure that there is no question about what we do in respect to the project.
As the Oban Subcommittee and Technical Advisory Group, which is headed by Minister of Labour Dion Fowkes, continues its attempts to renegotiate the heads of agreement, Turnquest says Bahamians shouldn't be anxious about the project.
No, I don't think that people should be.
Now, the Deputy Prime Minister says no matter what some may think, the Minnis administration does have the best interest of the Bahamian people at heart. Reporting from Grand Bahama for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar also cast doubt over the future of the project, asserting today that the Oban deal has stopped and government must act responsibly in dealing with the embattled project if it is to move forward. Jillian Gray has that.
Amid continued criticism over the Minnis administration's handling of the controversial Oban deal, Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar went on the defense today, questioning why the opposition continues to hammer the government on a deal that has stopped.
The deal is stopped.
Hold on. But Minister, it is interesting. It is interesting that you talk about the Oban 2.0, but the files from Oban 1 went missing. You had Paul Rowe, who's an anti-corruption officer, indicated that the Oban files were missing. So what is this government referring to from this one if the one from last year went missing?
The Oban is stopped.
And this is why Bahamian people are very wary. We would like to see this be abandoned, Minister.
Completely. We have to be responsible in how we deal with this.
The PLP has called for the government to abandon the deal, something Party Vice Chair Obi Roberts reiterated during their appearance on our TV show On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer. However, de Aguilar says the Minnis administration has to be responsible in dealing with the embattled project if it moves forward.
The government has admitted that they made some missteps. We admit that.
So
we made some missteps, and we are trying in the best possible way to ensure that if this deal is to go forward, that it is done properly in conformity with the law.
While he admits that government officials hastily signed the deal last year, Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar said officials have now slowed down that process in an effort to get it right.
We're not perfect people. We don't get it right all the time. Nobody ever does. And what we're doing is ensuring that whatever happens going forward, that the environment is protected, that the deal is good for the Bahamians, and we are, it's slowed down for a reason. And we're going to make sure that this is absolutely right. The Bahamian people have expressed their displeasure. We're a government that stops. Okay, we'll correct it. We'll look at where we went wrong, and we'll bring about the corrections. I don't. This is such a. This is an issue that the PLP like to go on and on and on about.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
In other news, a young man was killed and 3 others were injured during a quadruple shooting on Lightbourne Street, Yellowell Gardens last night. Jared Higgs has the details.
Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash says it was after 9 on Wednesday night when police got reports of shots being fired on Lightbourne Street in Yellowell Gardens.
Once those officers arrived on the scene, they met 4 victims who were shot multiple times, 3 males and 1 female. EMS was called, who conveyed 3 of those victims to the hospital, and the 4th victim drove himself to the hospital. We were informed shortly thereafter that one of those persons has succumbed to those injuries. So now we are investigating the country's latest homicide, coupled with the 3 attempted murder of the other 3 victims.
Our news understands that the victim is 24-year-old Jamal Roll. We also understand the other shooting victims are 21-year-old Malik Roll, 27-year-old Teresa Roll, and a 16-year-old boy.
Some vehicle drove to this corner, saw these persons who were outside one of the residents there, opened fire on them.
We're told that one of the victims was outfitted with an electronic monitoring device or ankle bracelet. Cash was asked whether police were concerned that Yellow Elder, an area previously identified as a crime hotspot, would see an increase in similar incidents.
There's no fear that crime is picking up. This is an incident. It's an isolated incident. The police are committed to looking at areas like this. And I can tell you, we were through this area just prior to this incident occurring.
The chief superintendent says detectives will have to further their investigations to determine if the shooting was gang-related.
We'll have to look at who those victims are and look at their affiliation to the community and other entities within the communities.
According to Our News records, Wednesday night's killing is the 12th for 2019. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Leaders of the 2 unions representing staff at BTC threatening to take action over what they termed an insulting offer by executive management. Employees gathered at the company's headquarters today to make their voices heard. With more on this, here's George Oban.
BTC employees and union officials gathered to vent their frustrations about pending requests to management. Shouting solidarity, BTC employees gathered in the lobby of the company's JFK headquarters dressed in black Thursday to show their growing frustration over a long list of issues, including an insulting offer for salary increases and unsatisfactory benefits. It comes days after a sickout forced the closure of several BTC stores on New Providence and the Family Islands.
We are in dread. We are concerned about our future and our jobs. And we see our jobs being taken with regularity. We ask the government, why are you continuing to give work permits to foreigners to come and take Bahamian jobs away?
Rose says the BCPOU and BCPMU are still considering a strike vote as employee morale continues to plummet and jobs are walking out of the door.
Our morale is low. We are discouraged. We, the workers, we see our jobs being taken by expats every day. Every day. And I say to the government cannot continue to hide behind the curtain and peep at us while we are catching eternal hell in this company.
According to Roll, management seems hesitant about coming to the table with the union representatives. He is now calling on the government to intervene as a shareholder and to speak up on the behalf of the Bahamian people.
We need to continue to work. And so we call on Gary and whoever else Liberty sent. Whoever else they sent to come to the table and to hammer out new terms and conditions for us who are employed here at BTC. And so we will not rest. We will continue. We will continue until we preserve those things, especially in our industrial agreement that our forefathers fought so hard for.
BTC CEO Gary Sinclair has said given the company's financial situation, union leaders should not have the same expectations as in the past. BTC was privatized in 2011. Since then, competition has been introduced to the market. Reporting for our News, I'm Georgie Oban.
Thanks, Giorgio. Well, a European child that is currently hospitalized in the Bahamas has tested positive for measles. It's the first confirmed case of the measles in the Bahamas since 1997. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands made the announcement this afternoon as he revealed that the Bahamas is slightly down in its measles vaccination coverage.
Many countries in the regions of the Americas is experiencing increasing numbers of vaccine refusers and declining national coverage in vaccines, including the MMR. This increases the risk of re-emergence of this vaccine-preventable illness. In 2016, vaccine coverage in the Bahamas was 89%, with a slight increase to 91% in 2017. Vaccine coverage should be 95% or above for what we call herd immunity.
Measles is an acute viral illness transmitted by respiratory droplets. The illness is characterized by the onset of fever and malaise, cough, running nose, and conjunctivitis followed by a distinctive rash. Sands says an increase in vaccine refusers in the United States, Canada, and Europe has heightened the risk of the disease spreading. To combat the illness, the health minister says public health officials will be on high alert and a campaign targeting at-risk groups such as children and the elderly is underway.
The aim is to increase the national MMR coverage in children and persons at highest risk for exposure. Government clinics will provide increased access to vaccines by extending immunization sessions through opening hours. Additionally, schools and workplaces and planned community events will also be outreach sites.
Still to come on our news, Bahamas Carnival season 2019 officially underway. The details are after this break.